Hi, I'm Ross Trachtenberg with Figure It Out Baseball. I'm the recruiting coordinator and hitting coach at Westchester University in Pennsylvania. I want to share with you how to build a practice plan that can be effective and efficient and really help you get the most out of your time with your players. To begin with, you want to define really what your goal is in the practice. Perhaps it's early season and you really want to evaluate your players. You might be in a mode where you want to instruct, do a lot of instruction and teaching. It might be a practice where you really want to get the players lots of repetitions and perhaps just be prepared for a game coming up. So kind of get a sense from your, spending some time thinking about it and also talking to your players, what do you want your practice session to be about? The next step is to really get to know your logistics. So before you get to the field, understand what the weather is going to be like, assuming you're outside. You're going to do different drills if it's 37 degrees out as compared to 87 degrees out. Know how many players will be there. Know how many of your coaches, assistant coaches will be there. If you've got 4 assistant coaches, your practice plan will be very different than if you're on your own. What type of equipment do you have? What type of equipment do you need? If you design practice to have a batting cage, but you get there and the batting cage is torn or taken down, what are you going to do? So again, knowing your logistics ahead of time, that'll really help build your plan. Communicate your plan with your players in the best way possible. This can be certainly posting it, it can be emailing it or texting it out to your players ahead of time. Or simply just posting it at the field. Again, depending on your age that you're coaching and how to best communicate to your players. When we're looking to build a practice plan, I think it's really important to balance out your high energy type of drills and your segments where there's lower energy and maybe you're doing some instruction. So with that in mind, when players get to the field, they're generally pretty juiced up and excited to be there. That's not the time to sit them down and talk about first and third defenses and things of that nature. So my suggestion is when you do get your players to the field, let them get their warm-up again, try and make it exciting in terms of adding in relay races or throwing competitions. And once they're kind of into it, go into high energy type of drills. So a base running type of a drill can be a great one to go into. Have the players have fun right off the bat. When they're a little bit fatigued after a first drill or two, that's when you can bring them together and you have their attention a little bit more and you can go over things like what signs are you using or how do we want to position ourselves in different situations. So that's kind of balancing your high energy with low energy type of drills. I also like to keep the kind of the talking to a minimum. So having the full group together and speaking to them, 30 seconds, 45 seconds should be the attention span that you might be able to expect from your players. Once you get past that, they're going to start to drift and you're not going to communicate as well. So my preference when I design a practice plan and then I'm actually in it, I try and have it very succinct instructions, be very clear with them. Again, some of this can be written down ahead of time. They know what they have to do and they get right into the exercise. Explaining things individually as you're getting into drills is a great way to instruct, but when we're trying to speak to the whole group, again, try and keep that brief. I also see, and I get caught in it too, where I'm trying to yell out instructions, but the players are 120 feet away. So when you need to get a message across verbally, just stop what you're doing, bring the team together, whether it's a full team or a smaller group, and speak to them in a position where they can hear you, they can understand you, they can ask questions back if necessary. But if your team's spread out across the field and you're yelling instructions, there's a pretty good chance it's not going to be picked up very well. This also goes for during hitting. Let's say you're hitting off of a pitching machine and you're standing behind the machine. You're not going to be able to yell out many instructions over the sound of the pitching machine. So just taking the time to essentially stop the drill, go over and talk to the one player or the group of players is going to be a much more efficient way to get your message across. And the last thing I would say is don't try and do too much in your practice settings. Again, in terms of planning, try and do less. Focus on the fun aspect, focus on mastering one skill, one concept for the game at a time. And if we're throwing too much at our players in a short amount of time, they're not going to be able to understand it all. So you want to build from week to week or day to day with your team, but in each individual practice setting, try and focus on just a few aspects that you want to get across rather than trying to cover all concepts within the game of baseball. Again, I'm Ross Trachtenberg with Figure It Out Baseball. Look forward to sharing more with you soon.